Now, as a wrestling fan, if I said to you, name the legend who had feuds with The Undertaker, Marty Jannetty, Brian Pillman, Roddy Piper, Triple H, and Razor Ramon, to name but a few, held the Intercontinental title 3 times, tag titles 3 times, the Hardcore title 9 times, and still made the 2019 Match of the Year list, odds are you're not going to be thinking of the right person. Because it's none other than the golden oldie himself, WWE's very own androgynous action hero, Hollywood blonde, son of a plumber, Golddust. Now, a lot of people ask me what my fascination is with Golddust, in between things like who are you and how did you get into my house, and well, his career is sincerely one of the most captivating and never-ending comeback stories ever told, and because in an industry where characters can age like milk, Dustin Runnels and his golden gimmick has managed to age like fine wine. Mostly. Aside from the homophobia and sexual assault. But today, instead, we dive into the deep and storied career of the most underrated of roads that isn't in West Virginia. The year is 1988. A fresh-faced Dustin Runnels debuts in Championship Wrestling from Florida, and we don't give two shits about this bit, so fast forward to 1995. After a brief stint working in WWE WWF in 1991 with his father, the late great Dusty Rhodes, the pair quit after Ted DiBiase bought his second black person and beat the fuck out of them. Then, fresh off a run in WCW, he does return, and Vince offers him a chance to start afresh, a totally new and never-before-seen gimmick of a sexually ambiguous and mentally manipulative Oscar statue brought to life and wearing a wig for reasons hitherto unknown to man nor decency. Debuting this character against Marty Jannetty and going on to some high-profile mindfuckery, beating Bam Bam Bigelow in his final WWF match and feuding with Scott the Bad Guy Ramon or Razor Hall, whichever floats your boat, this accumulated in a backlot brawl at WrestleMania 12. Or it would have if Razor hadn't decided to jump over to WCW where the big boys play with each other and leave Goldie with a high profile and nothing to do with it. Cue Roderick J. Piper. The greatest Canadian Scotsman to have ever lived, and if you've not noticed the accent by now, any level of British representation, Canadian or otherwise, gives me good feelings in my happy zones. At least now we have an actual Scotsman filling his hole in the roster. Matron. So you have a Hollywood-obsessed golden boy and a Hollywood star, so naturally the storyline writes itself. And naturally they built the match by Golddust lifting his kilt and offering to get in touch with his backlot. In a match that involves broken bones, car chases, bloody hands, concussions, an unplanned hit and run, and that's before the car chase, and eventual in-ring tussle, seeing as the copyright is insane with WWE content, and I'm a classically trained actor, I've decided to recreate the scene for you.
I suspect you to be a raging homosexual, and as such I'm gonna give you a fucking good pounding. Oh my. How dare you misconstrue my words to make me sound camp as well? Oh, you've made me very angry.
It is Golden Age insanity at its finest, and the first match you must see on today's show. Following this feud, Goldie managed to get into high-profile fights against fellow mid-carders such as Savio Vega, Ultimate Warrior, Ahmed Johnson, Mankind, Undertaker, Mark Mero, and Sable, Shawn Michaels, Triple H and Chyna, before hanging up the golden boots and buggering off for a while. Until 1997, where he returned and revealed himself as not Golddust but Dustin, and still nobody really gave two shits about that. During this run, he'd wrestle as Dustin, do some Jesus stuff, generally be a bit of a boring sack of potatoes, until Brian Pillman, the perfect pairing for a born-again Christian who had a real-life history with the Dust's wife, Terry, aka Marlena, named after Marlene Dietrich, another Hollywood icon, and doing some kind of potentially rapey shit to her. After clarifying that Jesus would return to beat the ever-living sexual assault charges out of Flying Brian and thus securing another second-generation superstar for the WWE roster, imagine everyone's shock and surprise when the he in Dustin's "he is coming" signs meant Golddust and not the saviour of the masses. Much better wrestler, slightly smaller drawing power. However, the show must go on, unless of course your opponent dies tragically in a hotel room of heart disease before an event called Bad Blood. You couldn't write this shit if you tried. But this is about Golddust, so he feuds with Vader, teams with Luna Vachon, completely loses his fucking mind, and ends up in a program with Val Kilmer. I meant Penis. Venus! Val Venus! And here, ladies and gentlemen, still suffering through our tale, I go on a tangent about the most protected move in WWE FE history. The knacker knocker, the ball blaster, the dick kick, call it what you will, a swift strike to the gentleman's coin purse is the only surefire way to guarantee to take someone down. The high-profile victims within the WWE include Brock Lesnar, The Undertaker, so on, and what you're about to see is the finest iteration of it in existence.
Uh-oh. Oh, no. Oh, Val. Oh, no. Val is in a very vulnerable spot here.
Oh, you're not kidding. Don't do it. Not to the big guy. Oh, look. No. Oh, my God.
The big Val Boski just got drop kicked into the Kaufman corner.
Oh, my God.
And that was it. That's the highlight of the feud, and possibly all of 1998. But the legend continues, with feuds alongside Jeff Jarrett, Al Snow, because things weren't fucking weird enough, teaming with the Blue Meanie, and finally hanging up his boots on WWE. Until 2001, which was a fairly uneventful year, save a 2002 Royal Rumble appearance and forming a tag team with Booker T, the five-time, yeah, let's not do that, champ that was equally hilarious and disturbing at times. Golddust got a form of Tourette's from being electrocuted, which was hilarious on WWE, and not so much when he was doing it elsewhere. And then in 2003, he finally hung up his boots. Until 2005, when he returned as Jonathan Coachman's hired help to go beat up Dave Bautista, and that went about as well as you'd imagine. Then he was in the 06 Rumble, gave Booker T the advice to shove worms up his back passage to beat the Boogeyman before hanging up his boots once more. I'm currently listening back to this on the edit, and wrestling is weird. Carry on. 2008, here we go again. Cyber Sunday, I missed that one, that would have been good in the modern times. Golddust teams up with his old foe, Roddy Piper, and Elvis to beat up Santino. Remember when I said some age like milk? There was a rumble, some short feuds, and then he was transferred to the ECW brand, the not-so-good one, then eventually moved over to the NXT brand, the really shit one, and finally moved into a backstage role where he could finally and ultimately hang up his boots. Until 2013, Rumble again, stare down with his brother Cody Rhodes, a pre-made perfect storyline which goes absolutely fucking nowhere as it was a one-off appearance, said so by Golddust himself, so of course, naturally, that turned out to be complete bullshit. A few weeks later he returns, and let me set the scene. The Authority is in power, Cody has just been fired, and Goldie storms out there, and befitting of a legend of his caliber, and the stars he's worked with over the years, demands a match to get his brother's job back, and gets the golden piss beaten clean out of him. So, of course, Dusty Rhodes storms down to the ring, and, oh, well, he's fucked too. Shortly after these massacres, they managed to negotiate themselves into a tag team match against The Shield. Yes, The Shield.
Because a match against
Dino, Rollins and Clifford, the big dog, would be a great idea, and you know what? They only fucking did it. In recommendation 2 today, these real-life brothers beat the brothers in an emotional rollercoaster of action, talent and legacy, with 3 always underrated and often underutilized stars finally showing why the Rhodes family is so well revered in the world of wrestling. So naturally, the momentum continues. Goldie gets his first WWE title in 11 years alongside his bro, and they're punished for this by having Cody become a raving space lunatic because Vinnie Mac does what Vinnie Mac wants. The Brothers Odd work together and against one another, with the undertones of a huge one-on-one match being built up, in between becoming part of the DC Extended Universe, of course, which ended in a roll-up because why the hell not? He teamed with Booker T 2.0, the five-time, really not doing this again, Slammy Award-winning R-Truth for yet another tag team of leftover talent that somehow worked and yet still did little to fuck all. He lost a lot, turned heel again, lost some more, was depainted by Bray Wyatt, defended by Finn Balor, under £205 for one night only, paired with Mandy Rose, and once again criminally underutilised for the remainder of his time until 2019, when he did, genuinely and for realsies, hang up his golden boots for the last time. Because he's got red ones in AEW. Unsurprisingly, following his brother over to the new promotion, Dustin and Cody finally got to put on the match we were all owed, with a man who has proved that the prime of a wrestler doesn't exactly mean how old they are, but instead how much they're willing to give in the ring, and a younger brother that clearly has learnt a lot from the living legend we tend not to acknowledge, leading to the third and final recommendation. The brothers Rhodes finally crossed paths in the match that they have so clearly wanted to tell at 2019's Double or Nothing, and it was so bloody good, it was named Pro Wrestling Insider's Match of the Year. And Dustin finally managed to do something that he hadn't before, and make us all interested and genuinely care about Dustin Rhodes. Now you name me one other wrestler that can pull that off after 3 decades in the industry and at 50 years of age. No, seriously, go on. You've patiently waited through this hideous spiel, so I'll wait for you. And whilst you're commenting, who else could have done that? Let me know some more wrestlers you'd like me to butcher the career of down to as few minutes as I can, so I can spend another week memorising dates, writing down feuds and firings, and racking my brains trying to figure out why the hell I agreed to this in the first place.